Okay, I am back and ready to start reading Medical Medium. So I'm reading the foreword, which I guess I don't need to show you my book every 2 seconds. But here we go. So how do you know what you know? Most of the things you know you've learned from your caregivers, from your friends, at school, in books, and in the streets. These are the things you know that you know. But inside of you, there are other types of knowing. There is, for example, the knowing that you are, that you exist, that you are you. This knowing you are born with. There is another type of knowing that is hard to talk about because most people take it for granted. This is the knowing that your body has of how to function. Without you being a cardiologist, your heart knows how to pump blood. Without you being a gastroenterologist, your gut knows how to digest food and absorb it. Then there is knowing that comes as a feeling, such as your gut instinct or your intuition. This knowing is highly intelligent and kind of magic. It lets you know things without ever having seen or heard of them, and it may save your life. This is the kind of knowledge that people advise you to trust. But where does it come from? How does it let you know about things? Who decides when this knowing will communicate with you? As a man of science, I have been taught to the point of indoctrination that I must only trust what I can observe, measure, test, and reproduce. But as a man with a heart, I cannot measure the love I feel for my wife and kids. Yet it is more real than any cell I've ever studied under a microscope, and so much more important. From time immemorial, there have been accounts of people who have extraordinary abilities, different kinds of knowing, with almost miraculous qualities. Savants who know things that computers have difficulty coming up with. Prodigies in every area of the human realm, such as music, art, and sports, to just name a few. Lately, I have become aware of some individuals who communicate with those who have crossed over to the other side. These crossover mediums are sweeping the country with their fascinating messages that people swear could only come from their deceased loved ones. One of my all-time favorite books is Brian Wise's Many Lives, Many Masters. Dr. Wise hypnotizes patients who then regress to past lives and even to spaces in between lives where spiritual masters relay extraordinary messages. These sessions have profound healing effects on the people who experience them. And then there are the healers, men and women, some of them famous, and the ability to make the blind see, the crippled walk, and the sick fully recover. These healers are the ones I am most fascinated with. Maybe a little because of envy. I would love to be given the gift of healing fully with my touch. I would go on a healing spree, starting at the children's hospitals. Whenever I hear about anyone with special healing-related ability, I immediately want to meet them, make them part of my network, experience their gift for myself, refer patients to them, and hopefully learn the ability myself. This is how I got in touch with Anthony William. A few years ago, I was having abdominal pains daily and went for a sonogram in which we saw a tumor in my liver. A follow-up MRI confirmed it, as well as a swollen inguinal lymph node. I became alarmed and scheduled a biopsy of one of the lymph nodes, and while waiting for the procedure day, I was given Anthony's number. I got an appointment fast, and within the first minute of our consultation, he told me about my liver, and went so far as to correctly predict the biopsy results. More importantly, he prescribed a regimen of supplements and foods that immediately resolved my abdominal pains, which were completely unrelated to my liver tumor, a benign old cyst previously undiscovered. Since then, I have consulted with Anthony about my wife and kids and always received advice that worked. I have always sent many of my curious and open-minded patients to him and have gotten wonderful feedback from each and every one of them. Where his knowing comes from is for you to interpret. It is my belief that it comes from the same frequency as intuition, just as at a stronger volume. In fact, Anthony himself describes it as a voice that speaks into his ear. When Anthony told me he had written a book, I was jumping with excitement. Finally, I could hear from someone with an uncanny healing ability about how this works, about his personal history and experience, and when I read the book, I was blown away. It is well written, sincere, interesting, humble, fascinating. I could not put it down, and I am so happy for you because you're about to have that same experience. a journey into the mind and soul of a true healer. This is better than space travel. I hope you enjoy this book as much as I did. With much love, Alejandro Younger, MD, New York Times bestselling author of Clean, Clean Eats, and Clean Gut. Well, that's pretty cool forward. So I hope you enjoy this reading. Stay tuned for many other ones. I'm going to just sit back and chill as I continue reading. So this is the introduction. Do you feel confused by the contradictory health information out there and just want one clear guide? Are you frightened by the rise of diseases such as cancer and seeking tools for prevention? Do you want to lose weight, to look and feel younger, have more energy, to have a loved one who's ailing, or to help a loved one who's ailing, to safeguard your family's well-being? Do you want to feel like yourself again? Have you tried everything, gone anywhere, and your health still isn't where you want it to be? Do you want reassurance that you haven't imagined or caused your suffering? Do you want to feel like yourself again? To regain mental clarity and balance? To gain spiritual support and tap into your soul's potential? Do you want to rise up and meet the challenges of the 21st century? Then this book is for you. You will not find these answers anywhere else. This book is unlike anything you've read. You won't find citation after citation, references to study after study, because this is a fresh, ahead of its time information that comes from the heavens. In places where I mention numbers and other details that sound like statistics, for example, how many people suffer from a given condition, the facts actually come from spirit, a source I'll explain more in Chapter 1, Origins of a Medical Medium. In those very few instances where spirit referred me to earthly sources for particular details, you'll see in notes, science has discovered some of what I write about here and yet to discover much of it. Everything I share in these pages comes from a higher authority, the essence of compassion that wants everyone to heal and live up to their potential. This book unveils many of Spirit's most precious medical secrets. It's the answer for anyone who's suffering from a chronic condition or a mystery illness that doctors haven't been able to resolve. It's not just a book for people who are sick, though. It's a book for every person on the planet. Pardon me, I'm going to get a blanket to be a little more cozy. So everything I share in these pages comes from a higher authority, the essence of compassion that wants everyone to heal and live up to their potential. This book unveils many of Spirit's most precious medical secrets. It's the answer for anyone who's suffering from a chronic condition or mystery illness that doctors haven't been able to resolve. I'm repeating myself, aren't I? That's what I get for taking a break. Health trends and fads come and go. When one is popular, it's hugely persuasive for people's consciousness. Then the new attraction comes along, the old one fades, and we're too distracted by the shiny new packaging to realize it contains the same misconceptions all over again. With each decade that goes by, we forget about the medical mistakes of the previous period, and history tends to repeat itself. Unlike other books in the health industry that repackage the same old theories with catchy new names, the pages that follow contain healing guidance that Spirit is revealing for the first time. The quickening. Spirit calls our current era the quickening. Never before has civilization changed at such a fast pace. Technology has revolutionized virtually everything about our lives. We live in a period of breathtaking wonder and opportunity. It's also an era of danger. By the time we mentally process something that's just happened, it's already old news. We are in such a rush that we always feel the need to be a step ahead. Along with the up-to-the-minute information at our fingertips comes greater demands, responsibilities, and health pitfalls. Lightning-fast advances sometimes come at a price of unconsidered vulnerabilities. These changes affect all of humankind, and womankind especially bears the brunt. It's women who face the greatest expectations in our current day. women whose bodies so often get pushed to the brink, and chronic illness has become such a widespread issue, both for women and for men. If we don't interrupt the constant flow of misinformation, if we don't recognize what our foremothers and forefathers have gone through and redirect our course, then the generations to come will have to endure unnecessary suffering. To keep up with the changing times, to survive, we must learn to adapt. The only way to do that is to protect our health. The popular approach right now in books about chronic illness is to advise readers to eliminate inflammatory foods from their diets. And that's as far as it goes. The information out there doesn't explain what actually causes autoimmune disorders or chronic conditions, or how to rid yourself of the root problems. That is why people stay sick. But there are genuine explanations for the conditions that leave doctors stumped. And there are powerful methods to deal with challenges we face in the modern era. This book is the guide to truly freeing yourself. I've written it so you can truly heal and help yourself from getting stuck or sucked into the trends and fads and mistakes and half-truths and errors and distractions and deceptions about health and wellness. I've written it so we can help today's children grow into healthy adults. I'm in no way anti-science. I don't question that we're made of atoms, or that Earth is billions of years old, or the value of the scientific method. What I know and the secrets this book contains will eventually be recognized by the scientific community. If you or a loved one is sick, though, do you feel you have 20 or 30 or 50 years to wait for answers? Can you bear to watch your daughter or son grow up to face the same health issues that you have and the same limits of medicine? That's why it's time this book reached the public, so you can read it now. How to use this book. You may be reading this book for any number of reasons. Perhaps a doctor has handed you a diagnosis and you want to know what's really behind the label. Maybe you have symptoms you don't know how to name and you're searching for answers. Maybe you're a healthcare professional or the loved one of someone who's sick and you want to know the best way to provide care. Or you may have a general interest in optimal health and well-being and you want to learn how to tap into your best self and your purpose in life. This book has something for everyone, regardless of what food program, diet, or nutritional belief system you may practice. It's for anyone who wants to access to the most advanced knowledge about healing available. Here's how it works. In part 1, where it all begins, I explain who I am and what I'm all about. You'll learn about my connection with spirit and my life's work of helping people recover from the mystery factors keeping them sick, come back to life, and prevent further health issues. I also discuss mystery illness and why it's much more pervasive than anyone realizes. Validation and knowledge are two of the most powerful tools for recovery. So the chapters in the middle 2 sections are devoted to explaining the real stories behind dozens of ailments. Part 2, The Hidden Epidemic, is all about Epstein-Barr's virus, an overlooked pathogen that's secretly behind debilitating conditions such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, thyroid disorders, and more. Epstein-Barr's various strains and stages are plaguing people, especially women, in so many different ways. It's the mystery illness of mystery illnesses. Part 3, Secrets Behind Other Mystery Illnesses, moves on to other health conditions that are widely misunderstood and includes descriptions of their surprising and varied causes. None of this information can wait another moment to reach the hands of the public. At the end of each chapter, in both parts 2 and 3, you'll also find targeted healing suggestions, included recommended foods and supplements for specific illnesses. Consult with your doctor or healthcare practitioner about supplement dosages. Then turn to part 4, How to Finally Heal. I'm very excited for that part, where I disclose the true secrets to vibrant health. These are the big pieces of the puzzle missing from the health world today. Part 4 is about recovery, prevention, and self-realization. So whether your focus is shredding illness, going from good health to great, or tapping into your true self, you'll find resources here. These resources include tips for optimal digestion, a healing cleanse, hidden ingredients that can hinder your health, insights into the most healing food on the planet, options for detoxification, and instructions for spiritual techniques like healing the soul through unique meditations and calling upon angels for support. Throughout the book, you'll find case histories that tell my clients stories of getting back on their feet, sometimes literally, after health and spiritual struggles. While I've changed all names and identifying details, the heart of each client's experience remains. I hope that each case history offers you comfort that you're not alone, as well as hope for your own bright future. The word quicken doesn't just mean become faster, it also means spring to life. Historically, it referred to the first signs of movement a fetus showed in the womb, which is to say, this time of the quickening isn't just about life speeding up, it's also about rebirth. A new world is emerging. If we're to keep up and not fall prey to the dangers that accompany rapid change, we must adapt. Every word of this book is devoted to helping you with that process. I'm about getting people better. I've helped tens of thousands of people fully recover from what has ailed them, stave off further illness, and live vibrant lives, and I want to share the success with the wider world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait. I'm very excited. You'll see me use the term medical communities often throughout the book, but by this I mean the conventional and alternative medical communities, as well as the newer fields of integrative and functional medicine. I don't take sides with any of them. I also don't point fingers. The information here is neutral, independent. It's about practitioners and healers getting a hold of this knowledge, learning how to help more people. It is about you getting a hold of this knowledge and learning how to heal yourself. It is about the truth. Aren't we all looking for the truth? Truth about our world, the universe, truth about ourselves, about life, about why we're here, about our purpose? When we're sick, we question ourselves. We feel cut off from life, from what we were put on earth to do. We doubt basic truths like the body's ability to heal because we haven't yet connected to what's really behind our illnesses. We go from doctor to doctor, medical community to medical community, looking for an answer. We lose faith in life itself. When we become well, though doubts melt away, we have energy to devote to our true purpose. We watch ourselves transform, and we believe in the good in life again. We connect to laws of the universe, like that of a renewal. The truth about the world, ourselves, life, purpose, it all comes down to healing. And the truth about healing is now in your hands. Woo! Part 1. Where it all begins. Chapter 1. Origins of the Medical Medium. In this book, I reveal truths you won't learn anywhere else. You won't hear them from your doctor, read them in other books, or find them on the web. These are secrets that have not yet surfaced, and that I'm bringing to light for the first time. I'm not a physician, I have no medical training, yet I can tell you things about your health that no one else can. I can give you clarity on chronic and mystery illnesses that doctors often misdiagnose, treat incorrectly, or tag with certain labels even when they don't truly understand what's causing them. Since I was a young child, I've been helping individuals heal with the insights I'm about to share. Now it's time for you to learn these secrets. It's how Spirit has told me it's meant to be. An unexpected guest. My story begins when I'm 4 years old. As I'm waking up one Sunday morning, I hear an elderly man speaking. His voice is just outside my right ear. It's very clear. He says, "I am the Spirit of the Most High. There is no spirit above me but God." I'm confused and alarmed. Is someone else in my room? I open my eyes and look around, but don't see anybody. Maybe someone's talking or playing a radio outside, I think. I get up and walk to the window. There are no people. It's too early in the morning. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm not sure I want to. I run downstairs to be with my parents and feel safe. I don't say anything about the voice, but as the day goes on, a feeling builds up. That's that I'm being watched. In the evening, I settle into my chair at the dinner table. With me are my parents, my grandparents, and some other family members. As we're eating, I suddenly see a strange man standing behind my grandmother. He has gray hair and a gray beard and is wearing a brown robe. I assume he's a I assume he's a family friend who's come to join our meal. Instead of sitting down with us, though, he keeps standing behind my grandmother and looking only at me. When none of my family reacts to his presence, I slowly realize that I'm the only one who sees him. I look away to see if he'll disappear. When I look back, he's still there, staring at me. His mouth doesn't move, but I can hear his voice by my right ear. It's the same voice I heard from when waking up. This time he says in a calming tone, "I am here for you." I stop eating. "What's wrong?" my mom asks. "You're not hungry?" I don't answer. I just keep looking at the man who lifts his right arm and waves for me to come over to my grandmother. Feeling an undeniable instinct to follow his instruction, I climb out of my chair and walk to Grandma. He takes my hand and puts it on my grandmother's chest while she's eating. Grandma backs away with a start. "What are you doing?" she asks. The gray man looks at me. "Say lung cancer." I'm at a loss. I don't even know what lung cancer means. I try to say it, but it comes out as a mumble. "Do it again," he tells me. "Lung." "Lung," I say. "Cancer." "Cancer," I say. My entire family is staring at me now. I'm still focused on the gray man. Now say, "Grandma has lung cancer." "Grandma has lung cancer," I say. I hear a fork clatter on the table. The gray man pulls my hand from Grandma and gently places it at my side. Then he turns and starts climbing steps that weren't there before. He looks back at me and says, "You will hear from me all the time, but you may never see me again. Not to worry." He continues climbing until he steps through the ceiling of my house and now does disappear. My grandmother stares at me. "Did you say that what I thought you said?" There's a panic at the table. What just happened doesn't make sense for a number of reasons, starting with the fact that as far as we know, Grandma is fine. She hasn't noticed any problems or seen any doctors. The next morning I wake up and hear the voice again. "I am the spirit of the Most High. There is no spirit above me but God." Just like the previous morning, I look around but don't see anyone. From that day on, the same thing happens every morning without fail. Meanwhile, my grandmother is shaken by what I said to her. Even though she feels fine, she makes an appointment for a general checkup. A few weeks later, she visits her doctor, and a chest x-ray reveals that she has lung cancer. The voice. As the mysterious visitor continues to greet me every morning, I start to pay attention to what he sounds like. His crystal clear voice is somewhere between baritone and tenor, a bit on the low side, but not very low. It has depth and resonance. Even though he's near my right ear, his speech has the stereo effect of surround sound. It's hard to gauge his age. Sometimes he sounds like an exceptionally strong, healthy 80-year-old, matching the gray man I saw at dinner. At other times, he sounds thousands of years old. You might say he has a soothing voice, yet I can't get used to his presence. Other mediums sometimes hear inner voices, but mine isn't internal. It's a voice directly outside my right ear, as if someone were standing next to me. I can't will it to go away. I can physically block it, but I put my hand in front of my ear and I can make the voice sound very faint. As soon as I move my hand away, he's at full volume again. I ask him to stop talking to me. At first I'm polite about it, then I'm not. It doesn't matter what I say, though. He talks whenever he wants to. Spirit of the Most High. I start calling the voice by name, Spirit of the Most High. Sometimes I call him Spirit for short, or Most High. By age 8, I hear Spirit continually throughout the day. He tells me about the physical health of anyone I encounter. No matter where I am or what I'm doing, I'm told about the aches and pains and illnesses of whomever's nearby. Also what the person needs to do to become better. The relentlessness of this ongoing and intimate information is extremely stressful. I ask Spirit to stop telling me these things. I don't want to know. He tells me that he's trying to teach me as much as possible, and that we can't spare a moment. When I tell him it's too demanding, he ignores me. I learn that I can engage in some conversation with him, though when I'm old enough to pose some fundamental questions, I ask, "Who are you? What are you? Where did you come from? And why are you here?" Spirit replies, "First, I will tell you what I am not. I am not an angel. I am not a person. I was never a human being. I'm not a spirit guide either. I am a word. I blink fast, trying to take this in. All I can think to ask is, which word? Spirit replies, compassion. I'm not sure how to respond, but I don't need to. Spirit keeps talking. I'm literally the living essence of the word compassion. I sit at the fingertip of God. Spirit, I don't understand. Are you God? No, the voice replies. At the fingertip of God sits a word, and that word is compassion. I am that word, a living word, the closest word to God. I shake my head. How can you be just a word? A word is an energy source. Certain words hold great power. God pours light into words, such as I, and instills us with the breath of life. I am more than a word. Is there anyone else like you? I ask. Yes. Faith, hope, joy, peace, and more. They are all living words, but I sit above all of them because I am the closest to God. Do these words speak to people too? Not as I do to you. These words are not heard by the ear. They live in each person's heart and soul, as do I. Words such as joy and peace do not stand alone in the heart. They require compassion to be complete. Why can't peace be enough by itself? I ask. Many times since Spirit entered my life, I've wished for peace and quiet. Compassion is the understanding of suffering, Spirit replies. There is no peace, joy, or hope until those who suffer are understood. Compassion is the soul of these words. Without it, they are empty. Compassion fills them with truth, honor, and purpose. I am compassion, and no other sits above me but God. Trying to make sense of this, I ask, then what is God? God is a word. God is love, which is above all other words. God is also more than a word, because God loves all. God is the most powerful source of existence. People can love, but people do not love all others unconditionally. God does. It's too much for me to process. I end the conversation with one personal question. Do you talk to anyone else? Because if you do, I'm thinking, I'm going to seek them out so I don't have to feel so alone. The angels and other beings look to me for guidance. I provide all who care to listen with the lessons and wisdoms of God, Spirit says. But on earth, I speak directly only to you. Me and my shadow. As you might imagine, this is a lot to absorb at age 8. There are other mediums who've had shocking things happen at a young age. None of their experiences quite match mine. Being able to hear a spirit voice clearly at all times and freely engage in conversation with it is extraordinary, even amongst mediums. Even more unusual is for that voice to speak outside my ear so that it's an independent source separate from my thoughts. It's essentially having someone follow me around everywhere. Someone who keeps telling me things I really don't want to hear about the health of everyone around me. The upside is I receive health information that's incredibly accurate, much more so than any other medium alive. Plus, I'm regularly informed about my own health, which is a great rarity. Even the most famous mediums in history normally can't read their own conditions. I'm also given insights into health and that are decades ahead of what's known by medical communities. A major downside is that I have no privacy. When I'm 8 years old, I spend a week building a dam in a stream of my house. Spirit tells me it's a bad idea, that it will flood the neighbor's lawn. It'll be fine, I say. Then a downpour comes. The stream rises, and it floods the neighbor's lawn. As the man from the house yells at me, I hear in my ear, I told you. You didn't listen to me. Of course, that just makes the situation worse. Spirit is constantly watching my every move and telling me what I should and shouldn't do. It makes having any kind of normal childhood nearly impossible. That same year I build the dam, I know in great detail about the physical and emotional health of my best friend, the little girl I have a crush on, and even my teacher, who's struggling through an awful relationship with her boyfriend. I can read every bit of it, and it's agonizing. Not one to offer empty comfort, Spirit tells me to expect worse. Your biggest challenges are yet to come. What do you mean? I ask. Only 1 or 2 people per century are given this gift, he says. It is not typical intuitive or physical psychic ability. It is something that most fail to survive. You'll find it almost unbearable not to be able to live like a normal person, never mind a normal teenager. Eventually, you will see almost nothing but the suffering of others. You will somehow have to find a way of becoming comfortable with that. Otherwise, the chances are you will end your life. Reading bodies. Spirit becomes both my best friend and my albatross. I appreciate that he's training me for a great job the higher powers have chosen for me. Still, the stress he puts me under is extraordinary. One day he tells me to go to a large, beautiful cemetery near my home. I want you to stand over that grave, he says, and figure out how the person died. That's quite a request to make of an 8-year-old. At this point, though, I've been so bombarded with the health information of both friends and strangers that I try to view this as just one more case. And with Spirit's help, I'm able to do what he asks. This adds another dimension to the gift. Not only does Spirit verbally inform me of what's wrong with someone's health, he also helps me visualize physical scans of the person's body. I spend years in different cemeteries performing this exercise with hundreds of corpses. I've become so good at it that I can almost instantly sense if someone's died of a heart attack, stroke, cancer, liver disease, car accident, suicide, or murder. Along with this, Spirit teaches me to look very deeply into the bodies of the living. He promises that once this training is concluded, I'll be able to scan and read anyone with extreme accuracy. Whenever I get tired or want to do something more fun, Spirit tells me, someday you'll be performing scans on people that will mean the difference between life and death. You will be able to tell if a person's lungs are about to collapse or an artery is about to clot and shut down someone's heart. Once I reply, who cares? Why does it matter? Why should I care? You must care, Spirit responds. What all of us do here on earth matters. The good works you perform matter to your soul. You must take this responsibility seriously. Self-healing. At age 9, while other boys are riding bikes and playing baseball, I'm constantly witnessing disease in the people around me and listening to Spirit tell me what's needed for them to get better. I'm learning what adults do wrong for their health and exactly what actions they should take to heal, but seldom do. At this point, I'm so filled with health-related knowledge and training that it's hard not to start applying it. One opportunity arises when I get sick myself. Eating out with my family one evening, I ignore Spirit's usual dietary recommendations and eat a dish that gives me food poisoning. For 2 weeks, I lie in bed unable to keep anything down. My parents take me to the doctor's office and even the ER one night, and when it gets really bad, but the fever and the pain in my gut don't stop. Finally, Spirit cuts through my delirium and tells me it's E. coli. He gives me a direct order to go to my great-grandfather's house and pick a box of heirloom pears from his tree. Spirit says I'm not to eat nothing but these ripe pears, and I will heal. I do as he says, and recover rapidly. Fire him, God. At age 10, I try to go over Spirit's head and deal directly with his boss. I figure I can't tell God what I want through prayer because Spirit will hear me. So I climb some of the highest trees I can find to get as close to God as possible and carve messages into their trunks. One of the first messages is, God, I love Spirit, but it's time we cut out the middleman. This is followed by some frank questions. God, why do people have to be sick? God, why can't you fix everybody? God, why do I have to help people? While these seem to be very reasonable things to ask, I receive no answers. So I find some even more dangerously tall trees, and I climb to the highest branches in hopes that my recklessness will get God's attention. This time I carve requests for direct action. God, please give me back silence. God, I don't want to hear Spirit anymore. Make him go away. As I carve in the words, God, let me be free, I lose my foothold and I almost slip off the branch. Not that kind of free, I think. I inch my way back down to safety, defeated. None of these messages make any sense. Spirit just keeps talking to me. If he's aware of my attempts to subvert his authority, he's gracious enough not to mention it. There's more important work at hand. First clients. At age 11, I want to do something productive and fun that'll take my mind off the voice by my ear, so I get a job carrying clubs at a golf course. My gift is not so easily abandoned, though. While caddying, I can't help telling golfers about their conditions. I often know about their stiff joints, bad knees, sore hips, hurt ankles, tendinitis, and more before they do. So I say, your swing's a little off, but that's not surprising considering your carpal tunnel situation. Or, you do better if you dealt with your inflamed left hip. They look at me with amazement and ask, how did you know that? Then they request advice on how to get better, and I tell them what to eat, what changes to make to their behavior, therapies to try, and so on. After caddying for several years, I crave a change. I decide that if I'm going to recommend food and supplements for healing, I might as well work in the place that sells them. So I get a job as a stock boy in a local supermarket. My clients come by whenever they like, and I take time out of replenishing shelves to help them. The owner of the supermarket doesn't mind that my work for him is periodically interrupted because I'm bringing in new customers. Besides, he's a client too. It's a little odd to conduct health consultations in a supermarket aisle. It's also difficult because supplements are barely available yet, and the variety of food is limited. Spirit keeps explaining that in a couple of decades, stores will supply many more options for people's health. In the meantime, he helps me get creative with healing plans, and I love being able to walk a client to exactly what she needs to buy to get better. With great power comes great guilt. At age 14, I sometimes sit in a bus or a train, pick up on some health issue with the guy in front of me and tap him on the shoulder to tell him about it. At times the response is gratitude. Other times the reaction is to accuse me of invading his privacy, stealing his medical records, or worse. That's a lot of distrust and hostility to deal with, especially for a boy going through puberty. As I grow older, I learn to be careful about who I try to help unasked. If I see someone regularly, I still feel impelled to share what I know. So I developed the habit of first reading her emotional state to determine whether she's approachable. That cuts down on the number of uncomfortable situations. If someone is a stranger, I'll usually keep whatever I'm seeing to myself. This becomes a burden, though. When I'm a teen, I start feeling even more accountable for my actions. So if someone is in danger of kidney disease or has cancer, I do nothing. Part of me feels it's my fault if the person ends up seriously ill or dead. When this is multiplied hundreds of times a day, the sense of guilt and responsibility becomes overwhelming. Escape attempts. As my teenage years continue, life becomes more difficult. For instance, most people watch television to relax and escape. But when I watch, I get health reading on everyone on the screen. I automatically scan the condition of every person I see who needs help, whether they know they have a condition or not. When that happens over and over, TV is draining, not fun. It's even worse when I go to a movie theater. I'm uncontrollably reading the health of every person in my row, the row in front of me, the row in back of me, and so on. And that's not the end of it. I read the health of the people in the movie. I'm able to determine the condition of each actor during the time the film was shot, as well as the health of the actor in the present moment. Imagine what it looks like to be on a movie date and get bombarded by medical information about the people around you and up on the big screen. Considering the last thing most teens want to feel is different from everyone else, this period is especially rocky. My feelings of alienation and being overwhelmed by responsibility lead to some rebellious teen impulses. I pursue various ways to escape my gift. I start spending a lot of time in the woods. I find nature soothing and especially appreciate the absence of other people. With the help of Spirit, I learn to identify different species of birds during the day. At night, he teaches me the names of stars, both what scientists call them and the names God has given them. It's not fully an escape, though, because Spirit also teaches me how to recognize herbs and foods growing around me: red clover, plantain, dandelion, burdock root, wild rose hips and petals, wild apples, wild berries, and how to use them for healing. I also develop an interest in repairing cars. I like fixing up mechanical objects because they don't require me to become emotionally involved. Even if I fail to repair a junker Chevy with a bad engine, I never feel remotely as awful as I do when I can't help people because they're in too advanced a stage of disease to be healed. But this hobby doesn't go as planned either. People start noticing what I'm doing and coming over. Wow, that's amazing. Can you fix my car? I don't have it in me to say no, especially since Spirit is doing the hardest part, which is figuring out what's wrong. One day, when I'm 15, my mother and I stop at a station to get gasoline. I walk into the garage and find a bunch of mechanics staring at a car as if they're trying to solve a puzzle. What's going on? I ask. One of the men say, "We've worked on this car for weeks. It should run perfectly, but we can't get it to start." Spirit immediately tells me the solution. Open up the wire harness in the back of the firewall, I pass along to the mechanics. Buried in dozens of other wires, you'll find a white one that's broken. Put that wire together and the car will run fine. That's ridiculous, says another man. What's the harm in checking? Asks the first one. So they go in and sure enough, there's a white wire broken in half. They look at me with their jaws hanging open. Are you the owner of this car? Asks the skeptical mechanic. Or are you a friend of his? No, I reply. I just have a knack for these things. In a minute, they fix the wire and try the car again. It starts up perfectly. One of the mechanics starts dancing around. Another calls it a miracle. Word gets around, and soon a bunch of garages in my town and also several neighboring towns use me as the go-to guy for troubleshooting seemingly unfixable vehicles. When I show up to assist on a job, the mechanics who called me, my much older guys with years of experience, are always incredulous. What's this 15-year-old doing here? They all ask. When I get the job done, though, they change their minds. So instead of escaping responsibility, I gain more. On top of healing people, I become a car doctor. The last straw is when I realize how emotional people are about their cars. A lot of times they're even more invested in their car's well-being than in their own health. At this point, cars stop being fun for me. I try some other rebellious activities. For example, I join a rock band because loud music helps drown out Spirit's voice. Spirit does not appreciate this. He patiently waits until I'm finished making a racket, then resumes his commentary on the health of those around me. Nothing really works to make my gift go away. It becomes increasingly clear that I'm stuck with Spirit and my ability, and I can't escape the path that's been laid out for me. Starting to commit. By the time I'm a young man, thanks to my training with Spirit, I've indirectly read and scanned thousands of people and helped hundreds along the way. One day I think, okay, this is the hand I've been dealt, and I have a special purpose. I just have to accept it, for now. I also think, this can't possibly go on forever. At some point, I'll have fulfilled my responsibilities and be set free to live a normal life. Spirit has never said any such thing to me, yet I need to believe it to keep going. In my early 20s, I begin doing in earnest what Spirit has repeatedly told me is my destiny. I open my door to sick people who come for help, discover the true root causes of their illnesses, and tell them what they need to do to become healthy. And despite my griping about the various stresses I've endured, it's fulfilling work. It feels good to help people. In fact, sometimes what I can do is so empowering that I let the feeling of being all-knowing go to my head. A good example is the time my neighbor approaches me about his wife, who can't walk or use her legs. She's been to dozens of doctors, and none of them have helped. My neighbor tells her, "Look, Anthony seems to know a lot about this stuff. Let's take a chance." Under my care, within a year, she's able to walk again. I'm in my garden pulling up some onions when my neighbor comes around. "I just want to thank you, Anthony," he says. "We went all over the country to meet top experts, and they couldn't do a thing. It doesn't make any sense. Somehow you knew exactly what was wrong with and what she needed. I don't know how it's possible. You're not even a doctor." I look at him with onions in my hand and say, "It's because I'm always right. I can fix any problem because there's nothing I'm wrong about. Just remember that. I'm always right, and I will always be right." Then I turn around, walk a few feet, and step on a rake that slaps me in the face so hard it knocks me out. As I lie on the ground, my concerned neighbor rushes to my side and stands over me. In my dazed state, I think, he's my constant companion. "Spirit?" I ask. Spirit of the Most High replies, "I'm always right. You're always wrong. Remember that." I'm always right. You're always wrong. Whenever I get cocky, I think of that moment. It's a reminder that while some of the things I do as a healer with the help of spirit might be considered miraculous, I'm still a regular guy who can make lots of poor decisions when flying solo. The turning point. When I'm a young adult, spirit assumes I've passed the crisis point that led others with my gift over the centuries to end their lives. He assumes I've accepted that using my abilities to heal people is what I'll do for the rest of my life. Which goes to show that even spirit of the Most High can't predict everything when it comes to free will. One day in late fall, I'm at a retreat by the water with no one but my girlfriend, who will eventually become my wife, and my dog. August, short for Augustine. I've had August for a year, and I'm very close to her. She replaced my family dog, who was with me for 15 years. Just like that dog, August is essential to my sanity. We're sitting by a large, deep bay. The water's icy cold, and the current is strong. It's our last day. With great reluctance, we start getting ready to leave the peaceful isolation of this place. Suddenly, with no warning, my dog jumps into the bay. I sense she's picked up on my feelings. This is her way of saying, we don't have to go. Let's stay here and keep playing. Unfortunately, both the cold and the current take hold of her. She immediately starts slipping from us. We stand on the shore, screaming at August to come back. I throw stones in the water to try to lead my dog back to me. This is our special signal. Whenever I splash stones in the shallows, she returns to shore. But today, the current pulls her farther and farther away. August goes 50 feet out. I see her struggling to get back and losing the battle. Then the cold freezes her so thoroughly that she stops paddling and goes straight down. I toss off my jacket, boots, and pants and jump into the freezing water. I've swam 15 feet out when Spirit of the Most High says, if you keep going, you are not going to make it. It doesn't matter, I yell. I'm not abandoning August. I have to save my dog. I swim another 15 feet, and then the merciless cold takes over. My body goes numb. Spirit says, you've done it now. You cannot turn back, and you cannot go forward. This is it. Really? You rob me of a normal, peaceful life? I dedicate my whole being to your work of healing, and this is all I get from you? You say this is it, and leave us to die? All the angst and anger I've suppressed since I was 4 years old comes pouring out. I let Spirit have it about my years of pent-up frustration over this continual torture I've always had to accept as a gift. Being set apart from everyone else, knowing too much about everyone at way too early of an age, and being told what I had to do with my life instead of given even the slightest choice. I tell Spirit, I put up with a lot, sacrificing my childhood, experiencing everybody's pain and suffering, taking responsibility for healing thousands of strangers, and draining myself physically and mentally every day, and now you're telling me I can't even protect my own family? No, damn it! I shout at the freezing waves, threaten to engulf me. If this is how you want me to end, Spirit, so be it. I'm getting my dog back, and I'm going down with her. A very long second passes. Numb and exhausted, I realize I may have finally pushed things too far. A few more moments without help, and I'll be following my dog, August, into the depths below. I turn my head toward the shore to get one last glimpse of the girl I plan to spend the rest of my life with. Spirit says, you need to swim out 20 more feet. In shock, I shout, how? To my great surprise, I feel a renewed strength. I resume swimming. In my mind, I continue to yell at Spirit that I deserve to survive this with my good dog. Otherwise, we should both die. Spirit says, I will get you to your dog. In return, you must commit to me. We go through this life the way we're supposed to. You accept that it is by the holy power of God, and you are destined to do this work for the rest of your life. Okay, I shout. Deal. Let me find August, and I'll work for you with no complaints ever again. I swim the additional 20 feet. Spirit says, hold your breath and go 8 feet down, then open your eyes. As I hold my breath, a surge of power courses through my body. All of a sudden, I can feel my legs again. I swim what feels like 8 feet down, open my eyes, and see an angel. I've never encountered an angel before. I'm seeing what looks like a woman who has no trouble breathing underwater, with a glorious source of light behind her. Light radiating from her eyes and huge, beautiful wings of light growing out of her back. There's no question she's a divine being. and in her arms is August, surrounded by a beautiful, peaceful light. For a moment it feels like time stands still. My vision is surprisingly clear underwater, and I have no fear or trouble holding my breath. I grab my dog by her collar, then something pushes me upward with her. We both reach the surface of the water. The bay is still icy cold, and the current is still trying to violently pull us away from land and life. The wind is blowing strong. When I open my eyes again, I see Spirit for a moment standing right above the water. It's the only time I've seen Spirit since the first day he appeared to me at age 4. "We don't have much time," he says. "The angel is leaving." Just as I register once again that all could have been lost, another surge of power charges through my body. As I start swimming back through the frigid waters, holding onto August, who seems lifeless, it feels almost as if I'm being pulled across the 50 feet to safety. My dog and I soon make it back to shore, and to my girlfriend, who is crying with relief. As I drag myself and my dog up to the rocky sand, I cry in agony, not because I am feeling the initial stages of hypothermia, but because I'm afraid my dog is gone. All I can think is, let her still be alive. She opens her eyes, gasps for air, and comes to life. The sun appears from behind the clouds, and a streak of light races across the water and shines on my dog, August. I look at the light and say, "Spirit, thank you." And I realize this is the first time Spirit entered my life that I've ever thanked him for anything. The battles I've waged with Spirit of the Most High since I was 4 years old have to end. It's time for me to acknowledge the cards I've been dealt. Even before this point, people in need have been coming to me in droves. With this pledge, I wholly dedicate myself to helping them, without qualification and for the rest of my life. I don't have to pretend the abilities I've been granted are a problem-free blessing, yet I stop complaining and finally accept who I am. That's when I truly assume my role as the medical medium. The process. Once I commit to my calling, I develop a routine for fulfilling it as efficiently as possible. I don't need to be in the same room with the person to perform a reading, so I arrange to speak with clients by phone. This allows me to help anyone in the world, regardless of location, and it minimizes the transition time between clients. I've helped tens of thousands of clients this way. When I perform a scan, Spirit creates a very bright white light that lets me see into the client. While that's critical for obtaining what I need as the medical medium, the intensity of the light creates a kind of snow blindness that impairs my vision in the real world, and it accumulates as the day goes on. When I'm finished working, it takes 30 to 60 minutes for my sight to return to normal. As a side note, I bring my assistant with me wherever I go, somewhere that will... Excuse me, I'll repeat that. As a side note, I bring my assistant with me wherever I go, somewhere that will have a lot of people and voices, because I'll usually lose a substantial portion of my sight due to automatic readings. For example, whenever I have to fly somewhere, I end up inadvertently reading everyone on the plane. By the time we land, I'm completely blind, so I need my assistant to lead me around until the effect wears off. A deep and comprehensive reading of a client's condition takes only about 3 minutes. However, I have to spend 10 to 30 minutes explaining what I've discovered in my advice for healing, especially for new clients. Sometimes I need to spend the time bolstering or reconstructing a client. That's because I deal with more than just people's physical illnesses. Soul, heart, spirit. When I perform a reading, I go beyond a person's physical health. I also examine the client's soul, heart, and spirit. These are 3 entirely different components of one's being that always get grouped together. The first component is the soul. This is the consciousness of a person, or what some call the ghost in the machine. Your soul resides in your brain, where your soul stores your memories and experiences. When you pass from this mortal realm, your soul carries those memories as it moves onward. Even if someone has a brain injury or brain disease that keeps him or her from remembering certain things, the soul will bring all the memories with it when that person passes on. Your soul also stores your hope and your faith, both of which help keep you on the right path. Ideally, you should have fully intact soul. Over the course of life's hardships, though, a soul can become fractured and even lose pieces of itself. This is caused by traumatic events such as the death of a loved one, betrayal by a loved one, or betrayal of oneself. When I scan a client, fractures in her or his soul resemble cracks in a cathedral window. I can tell where the fractures are because that's where the light comes streaming through. As for a soul with missing pieces, it's like a house at night that's meant to have all of its lights on, except some of its rooms are stuck in the dark. This soul damage can result in a loss of energy or even loss of life force. That's why it's important to be aware of it. Sometimes a client's problem isn't physical, rather it's an affliction of the soul. A person with soul damage is vulnerable. If you ever hear a friend say, "I'm not ready for another relationship, I'm still hurting from my breakup," she's acknowledging that she has soul damage and that her soul needs time to heal before she risks putting herself out there again. Along the same lines, if you ever observe someone hungrily pursuing spiritual learning in any form, religions, spiritual gurus, self-help books, meditation retreats, it may be because that person's soul has been damaged and she or he is instinctively searching for ways to make it healthy and complete again. That's a critical job for each of us. When your time here ends, your soul should be sufficiently intact to survive its journey beyond the stars, where God will receive it. The second component of one's being is the physical heart. This is where your love, compassion, and joy reside. Having a healthy soul doesn't necessarily make you a whole person. You can have an unblemished soul and a broken, injured heart. Your heart serves as the compass for your actions, guiding you to do the right thing when your soul becomes lost. Also, your heart is a kind of safety net that can compensate for soul damage. When your soul suffers fractures and losses, a strong heart will get you through until the soul has managed to heal. Your heart keeps a record of your good intentions, too. This means you can have a battered soul and a warm, loving heart. In fact, it's common for someone's heart to grow larger as a result of a roller coaster ride her or his soul has gone through. Great losses can lead to deeper understanding, a greater love and compassion. The third key component I look at when I scan a client is that person's spirit, when in this context refers to someone's will and physical strength. Your spirit is not your soul. They are two separate parts of you. It's your spirit that enables you to climb, run, and fight. Even if your soul's been battered and your heart is faint, your spirit can keep you physically going while you look for opportunities to heal. For example, sometimes I'll tell a very ill client to start walking, go out to watch birds, and look at sunsets. That helps the client regain her or his spirit, and that can be the starting to rebuilding the heart and soul. Every human being is different, with individual experiences, feelings, and soul states. To be a compassionate healer, you have to adapt to each unique condition and personality to alleviate that person's pain and suffering. Spirit tells me this compassion is the most important element in healing. The one and only medical medium. While there are obvious disadvantages to having a voice continually talking into my ear, there are also huge advantages. Because spirit is distinct and separate from me, it doesn't matter if, on a given day, I'm feeling upset or ill or bored. Spirit is unaffected by emotions and will consistently provide an accurate reading of each client's health. I'm not an intuitive who needs to get into a certain headspace or has good days and bad days performing my job. Some clients ask me, should I take off my jewelry to allow you to get a better read? It doesn't matter if you're wrapped in tinfoil. I'm going to be able to get the answers they need and find out what's wrong. Another way I'm different from most mediums is that I have no problem getting information about the health of my family and friends or about my own health. Again, because spirit is separate from me, all I have to do is ask, and he tells me what I want to know. This is the one thing that makes me unique. One day, a skeptical reporter demands I diagnose her on the spot. I want you to tell me where it hurts. Does it hurt in my toe, my leg, my stomach? Does it hurt in my arm, my butt? Do I even hurt at all? Let's see what your voice says. Spirit immediately tells me she does hurt. She hurts on the left side of her head. Chronic migraines torment her. I reach over and touch the left side of her head and say, Spirit tells me you hurt here. She starts crying. That's the caliber of instant accuracy Spirit provides. If I get a call at 2 a.m. from a client whose daughter is about to go into emergency surgery and the client wants to know if it's the right choice, I have to be able to tell the doctor in 1 minute if that little girl merely had a bad case of food poisoning or if her appendix is about to explode. I have to be able to tell whether someone's recovering or is bleeding internally, if a child's fever is due to the flu or meningitis, if someone is suffering from heat sickness or is about to have a stroke. Spirit delivers this information every time. Padre Pio and Edgar Cayce, whose famous mystical healers of the 20th century, were the only two mediums in recent history who assessed the level of compassion that Spirit demands of me. Their work as compassionate healers was in some ways similar to mine. However, our strengths and gifts are unique to each of us. No other medium does what I do. No one else alive has a spirit voice providing profound on-target health information with crystal clarity. I've devoted my life to this work. It's who I am, and it's the gift I will use to provide you with the medical information in the chapters to follow. And that is chapter 1 of the medical medium. I'm glad you're following me, and tomorrow I will read chapter 2. So stay tuned, and thank you for joining me. Please like this and share if you like. Thank you.